So a couple people messaged me after last week's video asking about the bandage on my finger. After I recorded all of the playing clips, but before I did the speaking part, I had a little accident in the kitchen. I was cleaning up after dinner and, long story short, a kitchen knife went into my finger. Right up here. It stopped bleeding eventually. I just want to give it a chance to heal up nicely before logging another couple hour-long sessions. So this one will be a talkie. And I really hope you don't mind. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while now. Something that I just want to get out there into the world. And believe me, the pedal I have for the next video, it is so perfect for this channel. I don't want to mess it up, and I can't wait to show it to you. But we have to wait a couple more days for that. So let me just start off by saying that pedals are meant to be played, and you can put those angry comments away. I certainly do not mean to put fear or hesitation in anyone's mind, but it is kind of funny how these are cutting-edge electronics and custom hand-wired circuits, and they go on the ground for us to step on. But that's what they are designed for. So use them, don't hold back. But I just want to plant a seed. Here are some ways that I've seen pedals get ruined, damaged, or otherwise messed up that you should probably avoid. Number one, over-tightening loose jacks. If you've ever had a jack or a pot or something on a pedal come loose, your first instinct was probably to grab the shaft and start twisting at the nut and tighten it down either by hand or with a nearby set of pliers. And that's where you might be making things worse. Instead, open up the pedal and make sure that the wires or the ribbon that connects the loose parts aren't twisted or otherwise strained. Remember this small stone that I got for $10 because it was broken? It was broken because someone had over-tightened a jack that had come loose, and that pulled a wire off of the jack. So always check what's going on inside before trying to tighten something from the outside. Number two, losing track of the 18-volt cable. You got a bunch of pedals on your board. One of them takes 18 volts. You give it 18 volts. It sounds awesome. You get a new pedal. You start rearranging your board to fit it. You get it all wired up, and all of a sudden your phaser doesn't work. And then it dawns on you, you gave it the 18-volt plug. Hopefully the damage is localized to a small handful of components and they're full size, so replacing them won't be too difficult. But overpowering pedals is probably the number one way that people wind up with an X pedal. If you've got 18-volt outlets on your power supply that you're not using, cover them up. If you've got 18-volt pedals or anything that's not 9-volt center negative that you're powering, make sure your cable is labeled at both ends so you don't zap a 9-volt pedal. Remember, you can go over on amperage. The pedal will only take what it needs, but the pedal needs to be able to support the voltage that you're putting out. Number three, messing around with trim pots. A lot of times a pedal maker will include some small surface mount potentiometers directly on the board. These are commonly called trim pots, and they're usually something you'll only need to adjust a small handful of times, if at all. So they're tucked away safely on the inside of the pedal, unlike a volume, gain, or delay time knob, which is usually on the front of the pedal, attached to a big, beautiful knob on the outside. Some of these knobs are meant to be adjusted, like the depth and rate for the modulation on this carbon copy. But you can see MXR includes this little cardboard shield here because there are other trim pots on here which were used at the factory to calibrate the Bucket Brigade chips. And unless you know what they should be set at and you have an oscilloscope to guide you to those values, you should probably stay away from them. Rule of thumb, if the instructions don't tell you what something does, they probably don't want you touching it. Remember the kid in school who would tell you about every urban legend in Super Mario Brothers or Pokemon, and they insisted that they saw their cousin catch Mew under the truck? Those people are on Reddit right now making posts about how if you max out the secret knob on your DM2 Waza, it unlocks the stereo ping pong mode. This goes for mods as well. There are mods worth doing, and some of them are as simple as cutting off a single leg of a resistor or a diode, like the Phase 90 R28 mod. Just make sure you're using the right tools for the job, the right version of the pedal, and that your sources are trustworthy. Number 4, forgetting about batteries. Over time, alkaline batteries can break down and they can start leaking, and that fluid can eat right through components and traces. And it's one of the few things I've seen that can actually make a pedal broken beyond repair. Lithium batteries don't have quite the same problem, but either way, if you're not going to be using a pedal or a tuner or an active bass or acoustic guitar with a built-in tuner preamp, make sure that bad boy does not have a battery hooked up inside of it. And if you've got a pedal where a battery clip is just flopping around inside where the other components live, consider wrapping it in electrical tape. It's a long shot, but those metal contacts might scrape against something and cause a short circuit that you don't want happening. Again, it's unlikely, but it might help you sleep better at night. Number 5, overdoing the Velcro. We get it, you've got a board, but come on. This is a pedal I got in the mail just the other day, and look at the back of it. The whole back side is covered in Velcro. Look, if you're rocking out so hard that you need this much Velcro, here's a tip. Switch to dual lock. You can get away with 2 thin strips, and it makes for a much more solid connection. And yeah, it's a little more expensive up front, especially when you're covering your board, but once you have it set up, this is all you need to secure your pedals. This is a hill that I will happily die on. Number 6, solid pedal connectors. You've probably seen these. They let us fit even more pedals, even more tightly onto our boards. Here's the thing. When you press down on a pedal, it's gonna move it. It's gonna compress the Velcro or the dual lock or the carpet or even the rubber underneath it. And because this is a solid connection that can't bend, it's going to wind up exerting force against both of these jacks. And that's assuming the jacks are at a perfectly 90-degree angle, which they might not be. That's not great for the jacks, especially when you consider that some of these jacks are plastic and some are mounted directly onto the circuit board. That board becomes the weakest link, and it's gonna flex along with that jack. You don't want that. These offset ones aren't really all that much better. The idea here is that if they're offset, they can rotate to accommodate for the movement, but they're still rigid. They're still exerting a force over here, even if it transfers it to a lateral movement instead of an up and down movement. The only way to avoid that is to just use cables. Maybe it's a me problem because I wear a size 13 shoe, but I like a little breathing room between my pedals anyway. Number 7, exposure to the elements. Pedals can definitely take their fair share of abuse, but you should keep in mind that they are electronics. So things like sudden temperature changes, extreme humidity, dust, smoke, liquids, and shock damage, that's all stuff you want to protect your investments from. So for the same reason we've got gig bags and hard cases for our instruments, you should consider a hard case like this, or even a soft-sided nylon case like this for your pedals. It'll also create a nice little atmospheric buffer zone in here, so your pedals will have a little more of a chance to acclimate. And that might seem a little paranoid on my part, but rapid thermal and humidity cycling is a fantastic way to break electronics. So much so that these things exist for the sole purpose of stress testing products before they go out to market. Maybe that $600 mega pedal spent some time on one of those and it passed with flying colors. All I'm saying is there's some amazing new gear coming out that I wouldn't want to own without also having some sort of manufacturer's warranty. Seriously, at the risk of sounding like a grumpy old man, it used to be that the idea that pedals came with a warranty was kind of a joke. Like how these M&M bags come with a resealable strip so I can save some for later. Sure. Today, it's a valid selling point, but also take care of your pedals. This is probably also a good time to point out that if you're buying new stuff, please try to use the Zounds link down in the description. I appreciate everyone who's been using it. I see that. It's amazing. I don't want to be up here selling VPN subscriptions or talking about World of Tanks. So if you're thinking about buying a pedal board case, you know where to go. Number 8, not protecting displays. If you've got a pedal with a display, get a protector for it. All it takes is the tip of a cable falling at just the right angle and velocity to hit that, and crack it. And we're starting to see more pedals with displays like this, and that's really cool, but they're also a great big weak spot on the face of the pedal. A while ago, I cracked the screen of this Peterson Strobo Stomp HD, and I was able to get replacement parts without any trouble at all. Thank you, Peterson. But it would have been pretty much a non-issue entirely if I had just put a protector on it in the first place. But the absolute worst possible way that I can think of to ruin a pedal is to not use it at all and not enjoy it. Seriously, I hope I didn't make anybody think that these things are fragile and that they need to be carried around on a pillow. They're tools, they're meant to perform, and that means pushing them to their limits. All I'm saying is, make sure that if they die, they at least died an honorable death. I would much rather have a pedal fail on me at the end of an amazing gig than just find out one day, oh, I guess my flanger stopped working in the last 5 years that it was sitting there. And I know there are some people who wouldn't mourn the loss of a flanger, but in this house, we respect all effects. I really hope that helps someone keep their stuff running. If this inspires just one person out there to go and label their 18-volt cable, then it was all worth it for me. If you're here for the pedals, fear not, I'll be back next week with that amazing pedal. Again, I can't wait to show it off to you. I just know you're going to love it, and I'll catch you on the next one.